What is up, everybody? Welcome to a special edition Misfit podcast. We are checking in on how everyone is doing in phase one. We're taking some questions, all that good stuff. So if you are watching on Facebook Live, feel free to drop some questions in the comment section and we will get those answered along with the ones that we took from Instagram. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Pure Spectrum CBD. Head to purespectrumcbd.com and use the code word Misfit. One of the things that I've been thinking about a lot recently is just how society has kind of turned to like caffeine, like as much as they can, like stimulants in the morning, and then they get home and it's
what you're talking about.
we're all just drinking some coffee at the exact same time that I'm saying that. And then a lot of people use alcohol or THC to essentially they've ramped themselves up so much and created so much stress and anxiety that they need to come back down in the other direction. And anytime you have something that's a little bit more psychoactive or a lot more psychoactive, just from bit. Zero, it's black and white, yes or no, with alcohol, with THC, not saying that can't be is a small part of your lifestyle, like recreationally, but using that on a daily basis, I think can become habit forming and just one of those things where you're trying to maybe find a crutch. So what's great about it is you can downregulate, you can create a habit, you can tell yourself, hey, on your ride home from work or, once you get home, whatever your nightly routine is to start that off, taking some CBD, I think would be a much better habit knowing how healthy it is to do so. So, I personally am a fan of the tincture, haven't gone into the salves a ton. I know that you guys have used them and you like those. Yeah, either way, I think it's a much healthier downregulation concept to use if you're going to need one on a daily basis. And again, that's purespectrumcbd.com. Use the code word Misfit. We're also brought to you by Sharpen the Axe. This isn't the Unprepared podcast, but the word unprepared will save you a little bit of dough. We got a lot of really good stuff. We made sure that we upped the stock. I know that some of you are frustrated with certain stock and certain items. We can't always guess, but we upped the stock for the holidays. So get your orders in as soon as possible so we can get them to you and you can either take them for yourself or give them to someone else for Christmas.
Or both. Yeah, teammisfit.com for your affiliate programming and coaching needs. Just a reminder, we're live on SugarWOD in the marketplace, so if you guys are a gym that's currently subscribed or looking and interested in saving yourself a whole bunch of time by outsourcing that programming to us who have done it for the better part of a decade. To some experienced guys, and then
actually is a decade. Well,
we're coming up right on the 10-year affiliate for sure, but longer than that when you're talking about making fit people. So
correct.
Anyway, teammisfit.com, affiliate programming, or SugarWOD.
Boom. All right. So before we get into the questions, just wanted to quickly talk about this concept here. We shoot a phase 1 podcast and then we shoot a phase 2 podcast. We were talking about like what's the best way to be able to connect with a larger group of people. It's always nice to answer your questions, keep them coming, through social channels, the website, whatever it is. But we get a lot of the same questions. So being able to do a frequently asked questions and really just check in with you guys specifically based on the programming and not more of the big picture stuff that we do in the other podcasts. I'm really loving where we're at right now with this. We have a little bit of proof of concept, which is nice. We just dominated back-to-back sanctionals. Misfit athletes did. On the team side. Really cool to watch and, really excited about the shape that the athletes are in. And part of this discussion is about we did up the ante. That's obvious now. I think people, like one of the questions is who hurt you from Instagram.
He can't tell you.
At MJ Whittock asked who hurt you. I'm assuming that has something to do with the things that we're doing in phase 1.
Yeah.
But again, we sort of warned people. We put it out there that it's going to be harder because it kind of has to be to get to where we're going to go. So really just checking in, seeing how people are doing in phase 1 and answering some questions.
How you doing?
I think it's hard. It's good. It's harder, but it's still smarter. There's sometimes like a mutual exclusivity that goes with those two things, but I think we like balance the line with making it harder. It's not supposed to be easy for the people that we're writing this for, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that's included that really enables you to get better, even if you're not doing it at like the volume that that the highest level athletes are.
Ready for some questions?
Let's do it.
All right. At D Mitchell 99 from Instagram, really enjoying the deadlifts this phase. Will we see any deadlift work next phase?
Deadlifts.
This gives me an opportunity to explain what we're doing with the deadlifts. The answer to that question is actually sort of no, but don't be alarmed. The deadlift volume phase has to come in our minds before the back squat volume phase. A lot of frontal plane exercises in the CrossFit community we're really trying to get. I don't know if you've noticed how many GHD sit-up and lunge workouts Hunter and I have programmed recently, but we're trying to get your posterior chain into a different place, so we're not just relying on bouncing in a front squatty style back squat. That being said, we have phase 1 through 6 all mapped out already, and you will see when we think it's necessary. We're going to do some deficit deadlifts in one of the cycles, and then later on in the year, we're going to do a full high rep deadlift cycle, which is super important. But one, kind of sneak peek into what we do. If we don't have deadlifts in there, we make sure that we put them somewhere else. And a lot of that is also one thing that can help you wrap your mind around whether you actually got better at it, because, maybe we get better at our 1 rep max, but that doesn't translate over. So we want to make sure that your deadlifts are changing in an actual application.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we were sitting down to talk about the affiliate side of stuff, and picking out from the blog what we're going to put into affiliate stuff. And you might not have traditional deadlifts in there, but there's plenty of pulling from the floor. You're going to be having the opportunity to take what you did in phase 1 and apply it into phase 2 and say, all right, well, did this relatively low volume deadlift program now help me pull heavier power cleans, heavier power snatches, and does it give me the ammo to use your fitness? Because 1 rep maxes are great for Instagram, but they mean jack shit if you can't call upon them when necessary.
Right. Yeah. And then the only other thing that I'll add in there is anytime that we drop the volume down within the strength training, we always replace it with higher pulling volume from the floor at a higher speed. And again, we're trying to it's almost sort of like the easiest way to explain it would be the concept everyone understands of energy systems. You can go hard, you can go long, you can do all these things. We can do the same thing within lifts.
Yeah, trade them off a little bit.
Absolutely. All right. Number 2, at MitchyMate96, how many weeks will the new cycles last? Asterisk, they are called phases, but thank you for the question. They will be 7 weeks each. We have a not really test week. You get 1 test per day.
I was talking to Drew, not you, Jamie, whoever.
I was very triggered about your question. God damn it.
Yes.
So we have 1 week where there's 1 test a day, followed by 4 weeks of standard programming. One thing that you guys may or may not have known, next week is what we are calling a primer week. We're essentially choosing your pieces and your volume for you, like flat out. We don't believe in a full deload. We notice that people essentially have to ramp back up for the same amount of time that they ramp down, especially when it comes to breathing and whatnot. We just know what actually beats the shit out of an athlete and what doesn't. So we're making sure that this week is more about intensity, more about get in, focus more on this piece than you normally would, and get out.
It's good for a check-in. I mean, every once in a while you have to go to these competitions, you have to call upon this absolute crazy amount of intensity you can't normally get in your training. And, we have to touch upon that, otherwise you won't know what that gear is. So a week like this allows you to dial back and go, all right, well, since they only give me 2 things, I better hit those 2 things as hard as I can rather than just trying to check the boxes.
Right. And then the retest week is something that's unique, something that's new that we came up with, where you do retest those workouts, the 1 thing per day. The row or die, the Sweeney quad, the 1 rep max deadlift, that sort of thing. But we also tailored each workout to be very similar in terms of, physical demands. So you're not retesting the same workout, but you can look back at that other one and think about, where did I get stuck? Was I able to make progress here, there, whatever?
Man, I don't want to do row or die again. No thanks. Thanks.
At the boys gym asked, where do babies come from?
Hunter, please tell us.
There's a what are they called? A stork?
Yes.
Yeah. That's
Seagull, you're saying
watch
that wrong.
The Grinch. If you watch The Grinch, that's where they come from.
Got it.
It's the holiday season, so.
Yeah, if you watch The Grinch, Jim Carrey will explain to you.
You'll have
Yeah.
babies.
You'll get pregnant.
Yeah.
How to
Don't watch the
create,
Grinch, you'll get
how to
pregnant.
create a hairy green baby with buck teeth.
Pregnant.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Oh God.
Sorry, the wheels are falling off.
If you guys want a really entertaining podcast, keep asking more questions like that and see what
happy
happens.
to oblige.
At D Pierce 349, how come I didn't win the giveaway? We have to be fair and we have to use the random generator thing, a jig. That's true, right, Ted? And you didn't win.
I thought it was just Hunter said no to that guy. Sorry.
He was actually the
I
first
did.
one we picked.
No, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Nope. Not for you.
Hunter said no.
You won to start, and I fucking tanked that
changed
real
it.
quick.
At Jen Dixon 25, if we don't have time to do everything each day, which parts should we pick?
It's a great little plug for the complete tier on our website. It gives you a chance to look at everything ahead of time, the whole week. You get to see kind of where the week is taking you and, deciding based upon your work schedule, your life schedule, which pieces are the most important to you. I mean, that's my favorite way to kind of address that question. But, if you decide that it's not the route you want to go, you can always just, look at the full blog and decide, all right, there are 5 things here I need to triage. And for a lot of people, the one that you look at and go, oh, fuck, I hate that. That's the one you should be doing. So
yeah, the only, we always say make sure you're picking your weaknesses, the thing that's going to get you better. But one thing that can happen with that is lack of variance. And variance is really what we're after. Like that's the thing that's going to get you there. It can be really hard to wrap your mind around sometimes. You need to go in and slay the things you're really good at to remain good at them. Like I'll have athletes that maybe are a little bit stronger that are like, I'm getting a little sore. I don't want to lift much more this cycle. And it's like, you want to come in 7th at sanctionals in the lift or 1st? Because that's a lot of the point spread is huge.
Yeah.
So like going in on your strengths is also important. So I don't want to necessarily confuse you, Jen, but the idea here is to just like, normally you can start to see patterns and you can say to yourself, yeah, maybe I do need to get a lift and a Metcon in each day. And then, the days you can add extra volume, maybe it's bitch work or you do the bitch work and you're like, whoa, that was too much. And it's just lift, Metcon, accessory, a little bit more like the Hatchet program. If you're honest with yourself and you start to notice the patterns, I think it kind of takes care of itself.
Yep.
Yeah, I think as long as you ensure you're like you said, hitting you've got that variance, you're going long occasionally. If you're deficient in like sprinty workouts or a certain movement, like obviously we want that mixed in there, but not at the expense of the other end of the spectrum. So the Hatchet program is a good place to start with that. Or if you're following MFT, like one, you could, like Sherb said, see the week in advance, or if you're just seeing the day at a time, make sure that you are still getting the opportunity to crush the things you're good at, because the whole point of working on the weaknesses is that, yeah, those obviously get better, but it also improves the things that you are already good at. So
Right.
you need to be able to express that improvement in fitness.
Yeah, there's like whatever a 0.1% of a point of athletes who I think should be following MFT but don't have enough time to do all of it, but stay with the MFT weights and reps and movements. Almost everyone else should go to the Hatchet one. And the funny thing is this doesn't need to be binary. Like you can be on the Hatchet one and see the MFT version and be like, that is a little bit more appropriate for me. I'm going to scale up and throw down with, the big dogs today. That's totally fine.
Yeah, we've done a much better job this phase of making sure that the Hatchet workouts are lined up with MFT, either in like correct intensity and volume and giving you a good target time or score to shoot for, and by the same token, not scaling or modifying them at all. So you have the opportunity, like there are the kind of open style workouts where we don't need to scale a 135 and 95 power clean for the masses. Like we're going to let you throw down with those guys. And like you said, don't be afraid just because you can mix and match the programs, as long as obviously you're keeping that variance.
It's important to say that you sort of just alluded to it, but you have these training groups. Everyone's not at the same level or the same fitness level or the same time commitment they're willing to, throw down with. But if you can grab someone randomly and go, hey, this is the blog version of what I want to do. This looks like it would be a good push for you and a good challenge. Like you grab those people and you bring them in because you're all going to push each other to be fitter. So like use the opportunity to compare the Hatchet and the blog back and forth and say, hey, these look like this one looks good for me and that one doesn't look good for me. So I got to find the right people, the right push, because you might find push from, someone who comes and takes affiliate class 1 or 2 days a week, but like whatever reason crushes monostructural and they're the good, horse to chase after for this. So it's important that you kind of look at that picture and you can go back and forth, and nothing wrong with grabbing a friend and say, hey, throw down with me on this.
This next question it's a lot.
Part Q.
At @track_athlete asks, as a competitor, athlete, and a coach, how to separate the two without losing drive in both? This is gigantic, because I would say at the end of the day, you're gonna have one of them is going to be a priority over the other, and if you don't acknowledge that and correct for it, then you're screwed. So if you're consistently trying to figure out like, oh, my training's going really well this week, but my athletes are pissing me off, vice versa, as you go back and forth, you're going to create issues for yourself. So if it's just the way it is and, you want to be a competitor, but that's how you make a living, you need to decide what's the priority and how do you correct to make sure the other side is there. The coach in me wants to say you need someone else on your coaching staff. So whether you're better at communicating, this is how you attack this piece, this is how we clean up your movement, and someone else is better at programming or vice versa, like the little things are going to fall through the cracks. So I would say build yourself a coaching staff, a team of people that can help you.
Are we assuming this is an affiliate coach?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It says competitive athlete and a coach. That would be a totally different thing. I mean, you guys can speak to that a little bit more than I can. At the end of the day, I wouldn't advise being a games level competitor and coaching games level athletes. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, that doesn't. I wouldn't disagree with what you just said. For me, those two, like two-headed monster, don't really coexist very well. And prioritizing is my advice for you as well. Like, it might take some soul searching to decide whether or not you really care more about growing your business and your affiliate, or if you care more about, your own personal gains. And like, this is something that we've actually had happen at our affiliate level, where we have really high level athletes who are also very, very good coaches. And, they've done a really good job of sharing that hat, but it's very easy to get lost in like the gray area between the two. So, take some time to soul search and decide what's more important to you. And I couldn't agree more. If you are going to say, I'm going to go to the competitive athlete side, find good people you trust to help delegate things to, because that's going to allow you that free opportunity where you don't feel like you're pulling away from your effort and energy into the coaching side to be the athlete you want to be.
Yeah, I'm going to assume, I'll say, yeah, if you're a competitive games athlete or high level athlete and you are also training high level athletes, that ain't it. I think you are.
It's possible with the right team, but again, you're gonna pick one over the other.
Yeah,
often.
you're too far in, I guess. You're too close, basically, to do that effectively, I would say.
How did the Celtics do when Bill Russell was the coach and the center?
Crushed.
Did they?
They won like, I don't know, something ridiculous, like 9 out of 11 years they won the world title. Something silly.
Great. Good. Glad. Yeah, so follow
Not to confuse you at all.
But if we're saying affiliate coach, and like that obviously that hits like a soft spot in especially on like the Team Misfit side of things, like that the belief is like you exist to like help those other people, and if they're the people who are paying you, who are I'm assuming that you are making more money coaching at the affiliate than you are making money as a competitive athlete. So, and money's not everything, but at the end of the day, like those people are trusting you to give them the best service and best product possible. And if you're prioritizing your training, you're saying that I'm more important than you are, then I do not feel bad for you if your gym is struggling. Like that, I don't want to be too much of a dick, but I'll be a little bit of a dick.
Yeah,
like,
I think there's a moment where you have to do the like Clark Kent Superman thing. You have to, no matter what's going on with you personally in the gym while you're training, you go into the bathroom, you change, put some deodorant on, slap yourself in the face, like I need to bring it. These people don't have anything to do with the fact that I just failed all those snatches. They don't even know that I snatched.
Yeah.
Most of them.
Nor do they care.
They give a shit. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They
Nor
want
do
to,
they
this
fucking care.
might be the best hour of their day. This might be the best hour of their day, like every day.
Yeah.
So you've
We
got to
actually
be able to go in and just, put your super suit on, change your demeanor, and, do it for an hour and then go back to your thing. But you have to be able to draw that line.
And we have an article on our Team Misfit site that's literally that exact same topic about strategies or a thought process behind, like, hey, yeah, you might have had a bad day, but people that are walking in, your job is now to change their bad day into something better. So how to, treat your class like a performance. So if you're interested in that, teammisfit.com, the article section has a really good piece on, how to change that hat from athlete to coach.
Right. Follow-up question from Track Athlete. How do you feel phase 1 is comparing to cycle 1? I would say two things. It's kind of apples to oranges. We've completely changed the philosophy based on how the season lays out now. But I'm really excited with how athletes are performing. I personally get a really awesome glimpse into this world because I'm in the text group with all of the games level Misfit athletes, and I really get to see how things are going and the things that they're comparing. And, I'm just really happy with where it's at. I guess that's the best thing that I can say. But at the same time, we're not separating things out as much. So we'll need a season under our belt to compare, that, going up the stairs the whole season versus staying at the top of the stairs the whole season. I'm
a big fan of it too because, get shit on for a little bit for here being like a CrossFit like purist, but like the whole GPP and having, while there is structure to the phases, there's a lot more variance in it. And I really think that our athletes are thriving under the variance because they, stay engaged in their training because there's more things to train more often because as the sport has now turned from what it was where we could have more of a structured season, now you need to be ready kind of the drop of a hat any time of the day. And I think that creates a lot more engagement in training because you're allowed to say, all right, well, I don't know that there's going to be a back squat day followed by rowing intervals. It's going to be back squat this week and rowing intervals. Next week, it's going to be assault bike and front squats or snatches. I just think that, for me as a middle to low level athlete in this like grand scheme of things, that's a very engaging time to train because again, it's variance and that's fun. That's what drove me into doing CrossFit to begin with.
I think it's kind of important to see it from a larger perspective. The cycle model that we had was largely built on kind of a traditional strength and conditioning model. You get really strong, then you get kind of speed strong, you build in the endurance, and then you get well conditioned leading up to your season. And that made sense for the open, although I'd be kind of interested to see how people perform in the open with the phase like model that we have currently.
Right.
So yeah, I guess we will find that out. But I think that we have like in a way kind of built the strength and conditioning equivalent for CrossFit because it is not the same thing. Like that is not like no longer effective.
We were taking steps to do so over the years.
Yeah.
We just took this as an opportunity to
like completely wipe it clean and do
Command-Z.
something else.
Throw the papers in the air.
Yeah.
Know us now.
Yeah. And I think like you're saying, you're seeing it's obviously hard to see like 5 weeks in, like where people are almost experiencing those kind of beginner gains because it's such a vastly different program. But like I said, I think we've structured and almost built the CrossFit model for strength and conditioning.
Yeah. Geralder 98.
Never heard of her.
When will we back squat? And then he wrote week in parentheses afterwards.
Right when you start eating again, Holly.
Yeah, right when you start eating again. All right. Salt and pepper.
How is that, Holly? I didn't actually know.
Yeah, no.
So this is an important thing to address. The volume cycle is in phase 2. Your friendly neighborhood.
Enjoy it, bud.
Death. But
Travis, oh yeah, good. You want back squats? You're complaining about no back squats? We got back squats for you.
Travis
stand the hell by.
Travis asked the same question about phase 1. So he does trap bar deadlifts on Monday. He does the volume back squats that we're doing currently, and he does the pause squats, the front squat stuff, the tempo and there. Because he's like, I got to squat 3 days a week.
The 30 hours of time under tension front squats.
Correct. Oh my God, hold on. Some of the weights people are using for the tempo and holy shit.
When we were writing that, I was like, that is essentially 1 minute on, 1 minute off of front squatting. And I was like, okay, good. Like 95, done. Easy. Greatest day ever. People are like,
dude, what? Yeah.
Austin's athletes using like 375.
The rainbow of plates is still on the fucking bar.
Why are you doing that?
Wow. It's incredible.
CrossFit works, I guess.
Nice job. So yeah, volume cycle's coming up next, but We like internally put a lot of people on a trap bar deadlift situation as remote coaches to sort of test that out. And that is one thing that you can do. You can swap out the traditional deadlift for the trap bar deadlift, really sit down into it. That's going to be for people who struggle to get out of the bottom of their squat. Not necessarily like grind all the way through, but just really have that, like, you know, Travis always says, I'll hit it if I catch the bounce today, which is like, please don't say that. So yeah, I guess that answers that question. At Bullman WXman.
Damn, that's a good name.
I don't know if I'm saying that right.
We need
definitely right.
We need a projector so that I can visually see these names and try to understand.
How do we know when to take the next step in subscription programming? I actually wrote an email about this morning. So I think I think the plus tier is very much a like getting started with Misfit Athletics. It's like, what is this all about? I haven't seen it before. I want to be able to poke around the site, not get stuck a bunch of times, whatever. The pro tier is sort of the beginning of our idea of bridging the gap between the plus tier all the way out to remote coaching. We have the master's program. That's the first tier that the master's program is available on. And we have weakness templates. So you have 3 choices on your program. That's obviously gives you more options. And then the weakness templates are there to say, you know, hey, I'm following one of these programs and I really want to focus on this specifically. I'm going to add this in. There's endurance stuff, there's lifting stuff, there's gymnastic stuff, all kinds of different templates.
They're almost 20, like you could build an entire program around the weakness templates.
So you can go in and do that. And that's, again, another step, another segue into like how serious you're going to take your training. The final step for the site before making that leap to remote coaching is what I think is the way that I think it's the bare minimum. The complete tier to me is the bare minimum for any athlete that wants to make it to sanctionals level that can't afford a remote coach. You get your programming in advance. The full week is in advance. The first thing that makes the weakness templates way easier to use and much more beneficial. You don't have to make those mistakes of, oops, I did that movement yesterday, or it's coming up. Now do I swap it out? What do I do? You get to print out the weakness template. You print out your programming and you plug and play.
Yeah.
Move some stuff around. And then just knowing what you're doing the whole week and being able to plan out your week. You know, people ask us so many questions about, should it be this? What should I put in this session? What, where does this go? Where does that go? Should I be doing 2 days, 3 days, whatever it is? You get to start manipulating what works for you personally when you can see your entire program. So I do think that it makes sense to make sure the programming and the site and everything's working for you at the lower tiers, but sanctionals level athlete, you got to know what's coming up.
The only thing I was going to add to that, what you just said, is that by seeing everything in a week in advance, we talk to a lot of athletes who want to know the tips and the tricks to get fitness. They want to know, what do I need? Do I need these shoes or this bell or what's this? And a lot of things money gets spent on things that are unnecessary. But for, if you're asking for the best investment for your training to make yourself a better athlete, what you just said is it's the nail on the head. Like, you have to be able to see what's ahead of it and be able to figure out, based upon your work schedule, your stress schedule, what works for you, what type of order actually matters for you, because you might be someone who does better at the end of the, having resources and time and energy in the weekends to put a little bit more volume on the weekends. During the week, you have to, even if 9 to 5 job, you can't do it. So this allows you to make those adjustments on your own, which honestly, not to be super salesy, but that is what you want to be able to do, is to take that type of information and use it to your benefit, because we see so many athletes trying to find the tips and tricks, and it isn't. It's hard work and knowing what you're doing.
We've also talked about the idea that, and we've kind of started to introduce this, that not everybody needs 2 dedicated rest days every week, and kind of with that, either the weakness templates or the week in advance, depending on where you're at, what kind of time you have available. If you can see the week ahead of time, you can, in a way, plan to not take a rest day, or you could plan to do some of the longer monostructural pieces, the stuff that's not going to beat you up too bad on that Thursday or Sunday. And again, that just comes down to how seriously you're trying to take that. That's just the common thread. But and this is one reason that works, but you can, I think it just comes down to how seriously you want to take it. And if you have time issues or time restrictions, then the higher up in the tier system you go, the more easily you're going to be able to accommodate your schedule and training.
I'm really glad that question was asked, because I don't think we've sat down and really said to people, like, we created these levels based on like what we think the efficacy of each thing would be to go through. So answering that from the point of view of the actual athlete, because like we're definitely coaches first, businessmen second. Like,
yeah,
like Sherp's like,
yeah.
But you went to Harvard.
I did.
For
I was there for lunch. It was great.
So I apologize. I was laughing
played
while
hockey
you
at
guys
Harvard once.
were speaking.
I walked to Boston one time.
Because the next username from Instagram is Anakin Sky Snatcher.
Yo,
Pretty good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Nice. Clever.
Phase 1 is going over Christmas time. Any adjustments in weekly training schedule?
No.
Not gonna lie, it was not on purpose, but our primer week is the week of Christmas. If my math is correct. Who knows if my math is correct?
Let me check my.
Carry the
let me check my
3.
We're in
computer.
week 5. Next
Square
week is
root.
Christmas.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
But no, I think it's the test week is the week of Christmas.
No, test week
Is the week.
is the week
you're
of
wrong.
the
I mean,
first.
I'm wrong.
No, I'm
Christmas.
wrong. No, I'm wrong.
New
so
Year's is the
answer is
retest
yes,
week.
Anakin Sky Snatcher.
Such a great name.
But we did that based on the programming. We actually don't care about people's plans.
Sorry. We're really sorry to say this to
We
you, but we
can't.
don't.
When we write
don't care.
workouts, we never look at the date that they actually fall on. It's like, why am I doing a workout? Like, why am I doing quintuple Fran on
Christmas?
Christmas? Like, I don't
That's
know.
our gift to you. Enjoy
Yeah.
it.
The
Obviously.
only number I see is day 4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's the only- that's what I work
That
with.
is a
Percentage.
Thursday. Good.
So a happy little coincidence. The answer is yes. At Quang of the Hill. There's no U, so I don't know how to pronounce it.
That's pretty good, I think.
How to wisely choose an effective workout when you have limited time to do the daily program. We sort of already addressed that. If you're a one and done kind of person, you can't cherry pick. You got to let her rip. Like, you got to essentially pick what looks like the worst one. Just, again, be careful of choosing the exact same shit every day.
You say that as Ching. That's how you say that.
Ching of the Hill?
See it on Ted's screen. Yeah, it's Ching
Got
of the Hill.
All right. Boom.
Or follow the Misfit Wad.
The funny thing is, we just talked about your college, but you actually had a major. What was your major?
Psychology and Chinese.
Go. Boom. All right.
Super useful.
Jish _Ort. Do the back squats keep getting heavier, or do we just die? Just kidding. Loving phase 1.
It's nice knowing you.
Yes and yes.
Yes and yes. Congratulations. Merry Christmas.
Happy
Filthy animals.
Hanukkah.
At Piggle TV2. I
These
like
names
that.
are so
Oh, we're
great.
done. We're done with that question. Good.
I mean, it says JK, so I mean,
Well, I
Or-
think he was referring to the die part. The bottom line is I'm assuming he's talking about the optional back squat.
yes.
So yes, it will continue. They will continue to get heavier, finishing with I think it's like an AMRAP at like 80% or something like that for the optional squats, and then like we alluded to, volume back squat cycle
Right.
in phase 2.
And we're it's really the entire culmination of the whole thing is that final AMRAP. It's
Yeah.
to put a pretty heavy weight on your back and move it for some reps and say to yourself, I just got better at that specifically.
Yep.
Which with the linear progression should be pretty smooth. All right. Once again, this is at Piglay TV 2. By Wednesday, week 3, I'm feeling beat down. What gives? Any advice? This could be an entire podcast. There's the quote, there's no such thing as overtraining. There's only under recovery. And you just might not have enough free time to be recovered enough to do so. And what's important here is games athletes, their volume is not all exactly the same. So it's not to say I am this or that. I am just the local competitor. Or I'm the sanctionals level athlete. So I need to be following a very set amount of pieces per day. So it could really be as easy as pick nothing.
I say we have athletes that come
do
up.
the mandatory, don't pick anything after, just go straight into the accessory work. I think what people do too often is their graph of volume goes down and it should go up. So you start out with 7 pieces a day, and by the end of the cycle you're doing 2 or 3. It should be 2 or 3 at the beginning and ramp up as you go. The only way you're going to be able to do test retest is to do a whole week with only 2 pieces and then add a third piece to only 1 day the following week and see what happens. Like adding tiny bits of volume to your program works a lot better than trying to subtract.
Yeah, so one thing I was going to add to that is we have the games athletes come up here often to train, and though we working together, and after a day or two, they're all like, I don't want to do anything besides like that one single thing, and that's because they had worked so hard with so much intensity that they realize that the only way to really get good training for that day is to pick that one thing and hammer it, and that's okay. Like it's totally fine to look at the week and say, I'll have to move this piece from Wednesday to Friday this week, or move that from here to there, just to allow for that recovery. Because like you said, you might just line up where Monday and Tuesday are absolute beatdowns, and by Wednesday you don't have it. Pick one thing, do it well. Maybe it's an accessory day. I mean, we watch athletes kind of work on the fly often with that and realize that it's okay to have a day where it's a little bit less, because there's an opportunity to grow there through recovery. It's super important to acknowledge.
Yeah, there are so many, like we said at the beginning, we've upped the ante with regards to not necessarily the required volume, but the number of options and opportunities you have to get better. You can still choose the theoretical same number of pieces, and have most of them be very skill-based or very low intensity.
Right.
So if you're feeling beat up, that's not necessarily cause for skipping the gym or turning it into a recovery day. You can still kind of recover and get better by moderating the intensity at which you're doing things. And obviously that means like volume and weight. But I think the biggest thing is like you need to be assessing the things you're doing outside of the gym before, after workouts. Are you obviously warming up correctly? But a lot of people don't do well is downregulate after they finish each training piece, each workout. And then you have to be honest with yourself about the things that you're doing at home as far as sleep, nutrition. The higher the volume, the more intensity in your training, the more important it becomes to have your room at 63 degrees and completely blacked out, making sure you're eating enough and that sort of thing. So I tend to go with like the look at what you're doing outside of the gym.
Yeah.
And if you're sleeping 7.5, 8 hours, that probably ain't it.
Yeah, you're going to get a stress response from essentially every activity that you have in your life. So if you're, working 9 hours a day and trying to train 4, like there could be an issue there. There's just not enough hours of recovery type mindset to be in there. And I think that this is the kind of question too where we would want to know a lot of like personal details to be able to specifically answer it. But I'm going to play devil's advocate really quick. I also would want to know how long this has been lasting, because overreaching is the only basis for creating the stress response that makes us stronger, that makes us fitter, going beyond what we're normally doing. So if you have a bad week and you can call on a few lifestyle factors, you might not need to change your volume.
Yeah.
It could just be like you just went into the fire. You're going to come back out as like whatever, a sword.
Well, we
currently melting.
We were just talking about in the office, like this question is coming. I don't know when this question was asked, but last week was fucking miserable. Like it was Monday.
Your last week was miserable?
Was Monday. Yeah, it was terrible. I trained really hard. Was Monday triple
was surfing in Morocco, okay?
It was hard. I surfed a lot. But like this is coming off the heels of a pretty terrible week. So
we'll use this opportunity to say that if you are going to follow the Sanctionals prep, we have a very special week in there.
It's a treat.
LOL.
At Frank Miranda 626, I add a piece of MSG
MSG?
of MFT instead of optional piece and hatchet, which I follow. Recommend or no? You're cheating the system, you son of a gun. Of course that's okay. Yeah. It's just always the question of why are you trying to scale up? Are you the guy that wants to wear a weight vest for Cindy because you're gonna do half the rounds? Like
my favorite.
I'm doing 195 DT today. Crushed it. Like there's the reasons to scale up are normally just not the greatest idea. Easier is usually harder. But what I will say is if you're gonna, if you got training partners, if it's more again about time than it is about your personal abilities, mix and match your life away.
Get crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like the scaling up thing is like there are almost no occasions where I would say like people should be scaling up
Yeah.
versus like just staying as is or down. Because odds are that means if you're scaling up, that means you're probably getting slowed down. Where you're like intentionally slowing yourself down, and whether that's like an internal subconscious thing of like, oh, that's gonna hurt real bad, but if I do the MFT version, I'm gonna get slowed down enough to make this feel like doable.
Right.
Then you're lying to yourself. But like we said earlier, there are times where that's appropriate, especially if it's like a monostructural thing. Like, yeah, adding 10 more minutes of rowing isn't gonna hurt you. It'll probably be fine, but.
At Savage Joe, Sharpen the Axe VIP, what kind of work structure can we look forward to now that we have a full new season? I mean, we've touched on it a little bit. We have the phase structure now. We have 7-week blocks, and the specific focuses are based on energy systems and lifts, and then we plug and play a lot with the specifics of skills that we're trying to improve. And again, it's GPP focus, but if let's say we choose 2 skills to really focus on, they're going to show up maybe like 1.5 times more than the other skills that we're trying to work on. We love the variance, but we also know that when you really hone in on something is when you can maybe, eradicate a weakness or something like that. So that's why you'll have the fasted cardio is going to be the same thing the entire way through. We really want you to notice what happens when you get really good at something, what happens to different phases of your training. So I would say that a lot of your metcons and intervals and all that stuff are going to stay similar, quote unquote, but you're going to have an aerobic focus, you're going to have an anaerobic focus for the machines, you're going to have a skill focus, and you're going to have lift focus. So I think what that does is it allows us to, like, I always draw the parallel to palate fatigue, like keep eating the same food, you don't really want it anymore, like doesn't really matter what it is. Although pizza,
it's a pizza.
I feel like pizza and tacos don't really apply to that.
So I could eat.
Podcast is over.
Fuck it, I need a pizza.
We gotta go do lunch. But anyways, we change it up enough each phase that you guys will notice the difference. The one cool thing that I will let slip now is you guys are gonna follow games prep for the first portion of phase 5 with the athletes. We're gonna pull the pieces out that we think are most appropriate for the general population, maybe even scale them down, but you're going to be able to, I'm doing the, the running and the rowing with, Travis and Jess today or whatever.
You asked for it, you got it.
We're gonna do just a quick.
You're gonna die, clown.
We're gonna do a quick portion of phase 5 where you do follow that stuff, and for a lot of people, it's the right time of year to be doing that kind of thing. Summertime, get outside, run, swim, bike, all that good stuff. So,
chill.
We're not done yet. All right. All right, now we are switching over to the Facebook questions at Donald Stipsack. Are we going to see traditional Texas method pop up in the new phase format? You will see
something.
Higher rep back squats at some point. That's what I can give away now. We have a different structure with the back squats this season. But I'm really excited about it. It's going to work really well. So that's what I can give away so far. Donald with another question. I recently heard someone say they look at day 3 of the programming as day 3 of a comp. Everyone is beat up just like you. You just have to show up and put in the work, knowing the next day is a rest day. That's helped me a ton since the beginning of this phase. That's a really cool idea to think about it that way. That's that concept again of overreaching. Like the rest of the week, you go 2 days and then a rest day, so you don't have that. So thinking about day 3 as like you put your armor on, like go full gladiator. We haven't published the podcast with Caroline yet, have we, Ted? We did a really good podcast with Caroline where we talked about sort of the mental side of recovery, and she likes day 3 the most because she knows that it's going to be really hard, but the rest day is waiting for her. Like she loves day 3.
You get to like earn that rest day.
Exactly. She makes it through Tuesday and she's like, I get to like go in and crush something that I know is going to be hard, but then Thursday we get to like sort of reset. So definitely a good concept. Nate Long. So what you're saying is years of sleeping 5 to 6.5 hours a night adds up. LOL. I'm going to have a couple sanctionals coming up in February and March. What's your opinion on just following the blog instead of the sanctionals training? That's an excellent question, Nate. The biggest difference is that we are peaking on purpose at a specific time.
Yeah.
That's going to be the difference between the two. So if you are more worried about just your overall general fitness and you really rely on the fact that you get to compare scores with other people, maybe staying on the blog would be perfectly fine for you. But for me as a coach, I want to know that I can manipulate very specific things at very specific times at a certain point in the year for an athlete. And this is our way to say to you, okay, maybe you don't have a remote coach, but this is exactly what we would do for an athlete if they said, hey, coach, it's 7 weeks out from a sanctional. What do I do? I don't think that you should follow it twice, especially because it's February and March. So I would pick one. Probably makes more sense just based on quick math in my head that February, if you're talking about maybe Wodapalooza, I think it's January 6th is the start date for the sanctionals prep. And not to toot my own horn, but to very specifically toot my own horn, I think it's the best strength program I've ever written because I'm in a bubble. I don't have, we're doing this to lead into that, to go here, to go there. I asked myself very specifically, what do we need to improve on, and focused solely on that. And we're operating under the impression that you're building your base at the same time as the other athletes. So yeah, I mean, kind of a long-winded answer. It's still always choose your own adventure. But I would say if you have one sanctional in mind where you're like, this is the one where I want to go do damage, I would personally follow the prep just so you can do that. And I would make people follow with you. If you have training partners, just be like, yo, it's just a workout.
Yeah,
who cares?
It's gonna be
just
real
do it.
shitty to be on an island by yourself.
Right.
But I mean, I'd say you should, if you're not gonna do the competition prep for one reason or another, maybe you just don't want to pay for it or whatever, you should be confident that the way that we've structured the phases, that you will still be pretty well off. And if it is Wodapalooza, that coincides with phase 2 starting,
right?
And which is a 7-week program, but
at the exact same time.
Yeah,
actually. Yeah.
But you do have the benefit of like, this is a very, very specific program specifically for peaking at the right time. It has some different stuff. Like you might not see the daily workout descriptions, but you get like kind of the mindset approaches for the week. And then also in the competition prep, you get kind of that last week, when you're traveling, like how to kind of handle that, getting ready to leave. Obviously everybody, whether it's based on flights or when the event starts, everybody's travel is a little bit different and have different kind of prep routines or whatever. And we kind of talk about that in the prep program. So it's really specific. Yeah. And after years of watching how athletes kind of get ready ahead of that competition week, how they travel, what they're able to do once they get, to the venue or whatever, we know what you can possibly be doing. So that's kind of built into the prep program.
Yeah. I think one really good example is I'm trying to get an athlete a 2-rep max clean within the sanctionals prep program. At the exact same time, you would be working on clean technique in phase 2 to then go to a 1-rep max in phase 3. So like, again, this is more of an iterative process as we go throughout the season based on the most complete athlete we can create for the games. And then luckily for us now, the games and the open are so close together that we can sort of roll those things into one.
Yep.
Nate followed up. Okay, got it. I'll do sanctionals training. Thanks, guys. I also have MAC qualifier during the first 2 weeks of this. Would this change anything? Also, no training partners, the good life. I'm going to answer this question backwards. Find some training partners, even if they're online. We have Travis Williams doesn't really have any training partners. I don't know that Brandon Luckett. I think he just suffers in his garage most of the time, which isn't super surprising. Alexis. They do travel a lot. Like Travis at one point had gone from Texas to Minnesota to Texas to Oklahoma because he likes training partners so much, but they talk shit to each other and compare scores all day, every day. Like, I can't stress that enough. They do have training partners. They don't get to train with them in person. You guys got to find those people. Part of it's enjoying talking to them, right? Like if you don't like them, like you don't want to text with them all day. So find people that are in a similar situation to you that you like, and it can just give you that extra little boost that, like, you know, they're not watching, but they're watching. Like
they're judging you.
And then in terms of the Mac qualifiers, we just replace similar stuff with similar stuff. You know, prioritize it. Like maybe you're the kind of person that has to get their bitch work done first because you won't do well otherwise. On that day, just don't do your bitch work after. Prioritize that specific workout, swap it in with a conditioning piece, and you're done.
Yeah,
like
I think
it's usually pretty easy to do. It's when people try to stack and get obsessed with, oh, I missed this or I missed that. It's a conditioning piece.
This is Nate's question.
Yeah.
So like I'm pretty sure he's followed for a while. Like I think you could structure it very similar to an open, like the open. You still need to be training through it. If you know the workouts are released on a Thursday, I can't remember when the OQ
that's one good thing about the qualifiers now is you really get,
you know, pretty far in advance what you're going to be looking at, and
you'll have your full sanctionals prep program. It'll be pretty easy to swap that stuff out.
And that might be a good time. Like if you're not, I don't know if Nate's a complete member, but that might be a really good time to, if you're not somebody who wants to pay for it like throughout the year or whatever, maybe at least for like the month or something to get that stuff in advance so you can easily plan out when you're going to do the qualifier stuff, what training pieces you're going to do after and swap out and stuff like that, because that just the peace of mind of knowing like this is what my training week's going to look like, this is what I'm going to hit the qualifier, I'm going to do the qualifier workout, and then I still have to train after that to keep my fitness up. Like the peace of mind and the
that's
stress
the only thing that gets
comes
fucked
away
up is the peace of mind, really. Like, the training doesn't get fucked up, but people get they get the FOMO about a specific piece they're missing, and it becomes an issue.
Yeah. So that's another option.
One thing to mention before we wrap up is just that if you are a subscriber to the website and you want to do sanctionals prep, you do get an automatic discount. So if you are, signed in as your profile, Ted, stop me if I'm saying any of this wrong. If you're signed into your profile and then you purchase sanctionals prep, you get an automatic discount added to that. We're not asking you to like completely double dip and pay fully for this and then go over here and pay fully for that. The one thing that I wanted to address, sort of a new idea that I have, and I wanted to bring this up to see if we could get a little bit of feedback on it. So support ticket on the website, Instagram, DMs, emails, whatever it is. A lot of people are asking about the team. What did the teams do? Like they just
programming wise?
Just like what's different? Do they have some special team program that we don't have? So one of the ideas that I had is to, address that more. We'll create the content, but to put out training templates for teams, maybe with the weakness templates on the pro tier, for a training week or a training weekend, because, we wrote a little newsletter for everyone about the proof of concept. They all trained individually for these competitions and then came together a few times to make sure that everything was kind of going well. And that's what, we'll do. That's what Gabe and I both did for the teams, is write team weekends or team weeks, depending on how long that you're together, because we believe that the majority of your training should stay individual and exactly the same. GPP is GPP.
Yeah. And I think if you're training with a team or something and you don't necessarily have team workouts or equipment, it's pretty easy to look at a workout and be like, yeah, let's just do this together and synchro, or do it in like a relay style, or add some like small nuance. I know that doesn't really help. That puts puts kind of workload on you that you would want somebody else to do. But if you don't have that, that is a reasonable option to do things like, and if you don't have a worm, like synchro stuff with a barbell,
if you need one.
Yeah. I mean,
that's one thing I'd say you definitely need. But
the question really is just, if you guys want to see team weekends and team weeks templates added to the pro tier, let us know and we'll do it.
And are actually going to use it, not just want to look at it.
Right.
Why, Hunter?
You guys got anything else?
No, thanks for the questions.
Yeah. See you soon in phase 2.
Yeah.
Use the leaderboard. Don't forget. Yeah. I don't know if we talked about that at all, but like the leaderboard function is continuing to get better on the, through the app. And that might be a really good place to find either training partners themselves, or at least like
keep you accountable.
Everybody knows, like, during the Open, you're always around like the same names on the leaderboard, especially when it was like regionals sort of format. But like, you can find those people on the Misfit leaderboard as well, and at least have somebody to chase, or maybe even like, you know, develop a little like rapport with that person and kind of create that remote training partner.
For sure. All right, ladies and gents, that was the Phase 1 check-in Q&A. If you like what we're doing here and you want us to do it every couple of weeks throughout the phases, you know, we'd love to hop on here and answer questions. Oftentimes, it's a lot easier for us to do this in a group setting than it is to answer the same questions kind of individually, you know, through, you know, social channels and email and whatnot. So if you guys want to see more of this, please let us know. Thanks again to our show sponsors, PureSpectrumCBD.com. Use the code word Misfit. SharpenTheAxeCo.com. Use the code word Unprepared. And TeamMisfit.com. Use the code word, I don't know, Hunter. Get you,
use the code
get you a handwritten letter from Hunter.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, do it. You use it.
All right. That's it. We'll see you next time.
Peace.